Rocky Mountain Revival Radio presents Ministry Moments.
Hey y'all, this is Lily Phillips coming to you with a ministry moment with Rocky Mountain Revival Radio Show. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about the character of Peter. In particular, two stories in which he's referenced a good deal. The first one is found in Matthew 14. It starts in verse 22, and of course, as always, I will read these to you guys. So if you just want to follow along to the sound of my voice, that would be great. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves, and because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." Now imagine Jesus saying that to you, and you recognizing his voice. Peter replied, "Lord, if it is you, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid. He began to sink and cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" When they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret, I believe is how you would pronounce that. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to all the surrounding country. So that's story number one. And I also want to read you another bit from Matthew 26. Is towards the end of the Gospel of Matthew. And this story is of how Peter disowned Jesus. So it starts in verse 69. It says, "Now Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him. 'You also were with Jesus of Galilee,' she said, but he denied it before them all. 'I don't know what you're talking about,' he said. Then he went out to the gateway, where another servant girl saw him, and said to the people there, 'This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth.' He denied it again with an oath, 'I do not know the man.' After a little while, those standing there went up to Peter and said, 'Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away.'" Now a better translation would say, actually NASB says this, I'm reading from NIV currently, but another translation says, "The way you speak gives it away." So his tone and the words he used and the character in his voice sounded like Christ. It resembled him. "Surely you are one of them. The way you speak gives you away." Then he began to call down curses, and he swore to them, "I don't know the man." Immediately a rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken, "Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times." And he went outside, and he wept bitterly. Now, before you are quick to judge Peter, let's stop for a second. In Matthew 14, Peter was the only one with the boldness to sort of reach out to Christ and challenge him and say, "If it is you, bring me out on the waters with you." He is the only one that is willing to walk on the raging seas with Christ. Though he did sink, he is the only one that got out of the boat. And then in Matthew 26, where were the other disciples? It says that Peter followed Christ when he was taken to be judged before the Caesar and Sadducees and Pharisees, before the scribes and the law keepers. It says that Peter followed him. It doesn't say a single word about any of the other disciples. And perhaps they were there, but they were not recognized to belong to Christ. They did not have the accent and words that resembled him like Peter did. 3 people asked him, "You're the man, right?" that was you. You were his disciple. I saw you with him. Where were the other witnesses for the disciples? So, my point is, we are so quick to judge Peter, saying, you of little faith. How could you sink in the water? How could you take your eyes off of Christ? How could you deny him? He was the only one with the opportunity to do these things, though. So isn't he still blessed? Peter was bold. And when he denied Christ, he recognized this and he wept bitterly. He was not like Judas, who sold him out. You see, the difference between Judas and Peter, though they both betrayed him, and though they both wept because they betrayed him, Peter is the one who repented. So, it's a big word. I hope that we can be bold like Peter. And I hope that if we begin to sink in the waters, we will still accept Christ's helping hand always. And if we betray him, if we sin against him, I hope we realize what we do. And perhaps we even weep, but more importantly, I hope we repent. Let's be like Peter, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. And that if this word convicts you, like it does me, let's accept this conviction, because God is gracious and he is just and he loves us very much. Alright, I love you guys. Have a good day.
This has been a Rocky Mountain Revival Radio Ministry Moment.